DC Multiverse!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, the DC Universe Geek, and today we're looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman The Dark Knight Returns action figure wave, including the Joker, Superman, Batman, and Robin. Now, each one of these figures comes with one of the pieces of the collect-to-build horsey, which we will be building at the end of the video. Anywho, so each figure in the series comes with a trading card and a certain number of accessories. The Joker comes with a stabby knife and an extra hand. The Batman comes with a pre-posed bat rope accessory. Superman comes with some extra zombie walking strangly hands. And Carrie Kelly Robin comes with her slingshot. Of course, they all come with an action figure stand. So let's look at figure 1 in the series, the Joker, who comes with the head and the saddle for the collect-to-build horsey. Here's a closer look at that trading card with the accessories the Joker comes with. Nice little piece of action figure photography, and on the back, of course, it's got the data file. The suit jacket has kind of a nice texture to it, and I think the body buck looks relatively like he does in the comic books. Joker's face sculpt is... when I first saw it, I wasn't too pleased with it, but the more I look at it, I think it's actually pretty darn good. Of course, he's got the side eye. Up close and personal, we can see that the jacket and pants are actually a slightly different color. The color of the pants actually more closely matches that of the hand, which is a little bit more of a creamy off-white, while the jacket is a nice, really bright white. And I kind of like how deep the engraving is for the fabric of Joker's sports jacket. The Joker's tie, I have it tucked into his jacket, but when I got the figure, the tie was actually hanging out like that, which is probably what they intended. That knife accessory that Joker comes with, it's actually really skishy. And because the knife is so skishy and rubbery, when you're trying to push it into his hand, I'll just pull the hand off there, get it up a little bit closer for you. You can see how it's like bending, it's skishy, it doesn't want to go in there, it gets stuck on the rest of the fingers. So you kind of have to just sort of work it in there sideways and then turn it if you want him to hold the knife, edged. But anyway, you get the idea. You're gonna have to fiddle with it a little bit. One thing I'm not super keen on is how ugly these balls look in Joker's wrists. This is definitely pretty unsightly. And kind of the same thing with the pants. You can really see those rounded ball hinges. As for the comparison for Joker, I'm only going to bring in the other two white-suited Jokers from The Dark Knight Returns. The Mattel is on the left. And finally, let's go over the Joker's articulation. Let's see what he's got. Got a waist swivel, yes. Does he have any kind of... You know what? Forget that. There's nothing there. And then for the arms, well, that's actually... Wow, that's a lot better than I was thinking it was going to be. Rounded hinge. I don't know if he has the little butterfly approximation in there. I'm going to try and have a peek, but I'm going to say no. And if it's there, it's useless anyway. We got double jointed elbows. That's not too bad. No bicep swivel there. And I know a lot of folks like some kind of a cut up there. And then we have, well, I was going to say we got a rounded hinge in the wrist, but you can see it. Everyone can see it. Joker's head attached with a ball peg, with a really reasonable range of motion there for one ball. And down here, he's got, well, we know what those are. Those are the typical way that McFarlane does the leg attachment to the body there, the groin. Ooh, this is nice. He's actually got some rotating motion. I wasn't expecting any. And then he's got the ever classic... Oh, did you hear that? Ooh, that's noisy. That's a clickety-clack. Well, at least it'll hold his pose. And they do about 90 degrees. Do they spin, though? Do they rotate? Do they spin? Do they rotate? I think maybe they're supposed to. I don't know. No, I'm going to say... I'm really trying... Oh! They do spin and rotate. Okay. It's just really clicky. And then, of course, we can see what he's got in the ankles. Do I really need to... explain that? Same thing with the toes. Got toe tickle. Okay, I'm curious to see how much they stick up. Yep, that's some really good toe stubbing action. So that's the Joker. Next, let's look at figure number 2 in the series, Carrie Kelly Robin, who comes with both halves of the torso for the collect-to-build horsey, as well as her trading card and slingshot. Here's a close-up look at the trading card. And here's a little peekaroo at the back with her data file. This figure looks pretty good for the most part. You can see that she's got those big round balls on her ankles, which is kind of unsightly. Going toe to head, let's first just take a glance at this Carrie Kelly. She's got the green pixie boots, the leggy legs that look like they're waxed, like uber waxed. Nice bright green and red for the suit there, and a great big R plastered on the chest with a pre-posed cape off to one side. Carrie's head sculpt is probably my favorite out of all of the Carrie Kelly Robins that have been produced, which we'll do a side-by-side comparison of later. Or at the very least, I feel like this one is on par with the Mafex. I like the fact you can see through her glasses, and her hair is fantastically done. I really like the fact that her hair is like a softer rubber, and there's little bits of hair kind of, you know, coming off of the main portion of her hair. It's got a nice kind of wash over top of it, so you've got your orange and then you've got your yellow. Her cape is a tad more stiffly than I would have liked. There's a lot of detail in this pre-posed cape, but it still is fairly neutral. Like, it could be more neutral, but yeah, I can deal with this. This is okay. I think the R on mine is pretty cool, the fact that it's so big. I like the fact it's so big. And I feel like the paint details on mine are actually okay. I mean, they're not perfect. I always try to keep in mind the price point, but yeah, they're not perfect, but I think that they're okay. There's not really much to paint because everything's been molded in the color it's supposed to be. So the green, the red, the flesh tone. I will say the only real thing I don't like about the appearance of this figure is those rounded hinges in the ankles. They is ugly. But everything else actually looks pretty good, and I think I'm pretty satisfied with her appearance. Now here's how she stacks up with the other Carrie Kellys. You'll have to forgive me, I no longer have the DC Direct one, I pilfered her for parts, but I do have the Mafex on the far left, and then on the other side, there's the Mattel version, and then we have the DC Collectibles animated version. So then the question is, how articulated is she? What kind of poses will you be able to get Miss Kelly into? Well, let's find out. Let's start with her head sculpt. Well, it's on a ball joint, and it actually has a pretty darn huge range of motion. You will note that you can see up inside of her neck when you turn her head too much. That's kind of a thing. That won't bother me because I'll just find a way to photograph around it as much as I can in my video, and then I'll just stick her in a cool pose and put her on my shelf. The torso has knit, but there is a waist swivel though. I'm not going to push it too much, but you know, these things generally do go 360, so I'm just going to assume. She's also got the rounded hinge right there and a little extra piece right here, what I call the butterfly approximation. It's probably not really a butterfly approximation. I just call it that because I'm a dummy. Then you've got a bicep swivel here, right here at the bottom of the t-shirt. You've got a double jointed elbow that sufficiently crunches up. Do we have articulation at the top of the glove? Nope, nothing there, but we do have a great big rounded hinge in the wrist. How pleasant. That actually is very well articulated, of course, because it's a big round hinge with nothing to hinder it. You know, of course, it spins around. Then down here, below the belt, she's got two balls. I thought she was going to have the typical McFarlane groin, but she's got little ball joints. Well, those are kind of nice. Does she have much of this motion? She's got a little bit, not really much to write home about. And then the knees. There's the knees. The knees crunch up. Groin kneeing knees. And what about her tootsies? Well, we don't got to mention those. We know there's round ball joints there. We know exactly they're going to be incredibly articulated because there's nothing to get in the way, and she's got toe articulation. So that would be the articulative properties of Miss Carrie Kelly Robin. And next, let's look at figure number 3 in the series, the Batman, who comes with the collectible horsey's tail and front legs. And of course, also as mentioned, the trading card, which here is a peekaroo at the front, and also the data file on the back, as well as that pre-posed bat rope that you can pretty much pose him doing this with. And that's it. But this Batman figure is just sick. It's detailed to the nines, and I can't really see anything about the look of this figure that I don't like. I feel like McFarlane nailed it with this Batman. I like it. I like it a lot. He's big and beefy and ready to kick your ass. I will say I do kind of wish that the Batman just came with a frowny face, sort of more neutral expression, but this is a fantastic head sculpt. I know it might not be translating well on the screen, but in hand, this is a really good head sculpt. And just in general, as mentioned, he's just loaded with details. And before, just as mentioned, he is just loaded with details. You could really see where all of his bulging muscles are, but the suit's also got all these fantastic wrinkle lines that really just bring the whole suit to life. Everywhere, just everywhere. The typical lines that you would see on the trunks of a character, a DC character, they've actually included them on this figure for once. The gloves look fantastic, and everything, like there's the lines up here, the seams at the top of the glove, and the seams along the side of the glove. He's got the seams in his, pants down here that really give this figure that lifelike look. This is an exceptional sculpt. Same thing with the boots. These boots look great. I am really liking this. The bat is that separate piece, of course, because McFarlane will usually inlay the emblems of the characters if he can. And it's nice. It's got like a leathery texture to it. His cape is really, really folded. So the cape is in a neutral pose itself. I don't like it or dislike it either way. It just kind of is what it is. And from behind, oh goodness, he's got a bat wedgie. And the utility belt looks great all around. So, yeah, love the look of this figure. Now let's do some comparisons. So that first comparison is going to be with the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Batman. Of course, this is a better figure, but again, higher price point, you should be expecting more. For 20 bucks, this is a darn good version of this character. For 100 bucks, this is a darn good version of this character. It just depends on how much you have to spend. And really, you could just be like me and you just buy both because you're an addict. It's like crack. It's like action figure crack. I am so broke. And then, hey, remember this guy? The gigantic animated Dark Knight Returns Batman? I thought I'd bring him in just so you get an idea of exactly how huge this guy is. Because this guy's massive. He's a tank. And next I thought it would be kind of fun to bring in the two custom Batmans that I made off of the Dark Knight Returns Mattel body buck. I don't have an untouched Mattel or an untouched DC Direct. I've pilfered parts off of both of them. But the next big question is, what's his articulation like? All this fantastic sculpting without the ability to pose him, well, that would just be a crime. So I'm going to go check the torso first. Down. No, down. So no real down or real back. It's just, this is more of a torso pivot than anything. And it will do the same thing as the waist, but the waist is really tight. Like, it will be 360, but this belt right here is going to hold, that midriff in line here. It's going to hold it where it is supposed to be. But if you really want to move it, you probably can. The head sculpt is on a ball joint, and he can do a great job of thrashing to heavy metal music. With the shoulders, you can see there's that like butterfly approximation, rounded hinge, no bicep swivel. That would have been nice if there was a bicep swivel, but no bicep swivel. He has a single jointed elbow. Whale poop. I'm assuming it will go back and forth. Yep, there is some back and forth motion there. And of course, rounded hinge in the wrist. Needs no explanation. We know what it's going to do. Down here, he's got, the McFarlane hinge. No ball joints, the McFarlane hinge. Oddly enough, he's got rotation up here at the top, but he's also got a thigh cut. So he's actually got probably the most leg articulation out of anybody in the wave, at least, in this portion of his leg. For his knee, it's a double jointed knee. Not bad. That's pretty good. And of course, rounded hinges and toe articulation. Of course, they're going to be ankle pivots. So, yeah, you know what? This Batman probably does have the best articulation out of any figure in this wave in the legs, just by virtue of having the thigh cut and such good thigh swivel up here. Oh, now this is turning. I got to turn the whole thing. Yeah, such good thigh swivel up here. So not a super impressive range of articulation here. I would have preferred there to be some kind of double jointed elbow or at least a bicep swivel. Because when you're trying to get him to hold on to something over here, you're counting on the elbow. I don't know. I would have liked something. So he doesn't have a horrible range of articulation. It's actually pretty good. I know that a lot of people would have wanted to have some kind of a bicep swivel right here. And, you know, if possible, double jointed elbows. I feel like that probably would have made the figure a lot more posable and mobile, but not a terrible range of motion. Although this right here, yeah, that's kind of terrible. And now that we've finished looking at Batman, let's take a look at the big and burly last son of Krypton, who comes with the final pieces of the collect-to-build horsey, the rear legs. And of course also, he comes with his trading card, with a lovely little bit of action figure photography on the front, and also his data file. And of course, let's not forget the strangly hands. He's a darn cool figure in general, probably one of McFarlane's finest attempts at what's that? What? Do you see something that isn't quite right here? Let me zoom in just a little bit more. There, do you see it? Right. What? The belt loops have been painted yellow. It's the DC Essentials Superman all over again. I mean, sure, it's an easy fix. It ain't nothing that some acetone won't fix. You know, you just remove the paint off of the belt loops. But that's not the point. How is this a thing? I don't understand. It's a basic design feature. Everyone knows he's got red belt loops. Anyway, let's go back to what we were doing here with the slow. Okay, roll them. Anyhow, the torso with the ab area is big and beefy. And that S, I like the fact that it's sculpted in there like that. I'm going to take a little bit of acetone and clean that up as well. But in general, this is a pretty darn good looking figure. I don't know how I feel about this facial profile. Sometimes I look at it and think, that looks pretty good. Other times I look at it and think, yeah, no, I'll pass. From certain angles, it looks a lot more like Frank's artwork. And from others, maybe not so much. Maybe more like, you know, muscly Elvis or Fred Flintstone dressed up as Superman with a wig. Regardless, something that I really hate to have to do this, but the paint applications on mine where the skin tone has been painted over to, well, you can see it. It is a disaster of tsunamic proportions. Educated guess here, but I think the person who was responsible for spraying the flesh tone onto this figure's face was in a big rush. I think it's kind of strange because in the same way that they left the neck and the hands just the flesh tone plastic color, they probably could have done the same thing for this Superman's face sculpt and just painted on his eyes and lips and eyebrows, being that the head sculpt is also molded out of flesh color plastic. Then you could have negated this entire mess and saved money probably too. At any rate, this still is a fantastic S-shield on the chest. Not my favorite design for the S-shield, but it is accurate to some of the artwork. And there is some nice detail in the suit, you know, with the wrinkles in the trunks and in the pants there, on the sleeves and on the arms here. His cape is that pre-posed jobby. It's kind of mostly neutral, the way that it's been sculpted. A lot of the folds folding over in on itself, which means no S on the back. His boots are just gigantic, which makes sense because, I mean, the whole character is big and beefy and roidy. Now for the comparative portion, I've got the 2-pack release of The Dark Knight Returns Superman from DC Collectibles / DC Direct. And then on the other side, oh man, I really wish I had that there Mayfex version. That's gonna be like the best one ever, and it's not out yet. So I guess I'll just sub in everyone's favorite bathroom mascot, Pooh Man. Hello, Pooh Man. Hello! No, I'm just kidding. I'll bring in the Mayfex Hush Superman. Yeah, he looks like a little tiny man next to these two big guys. And then how about the NECA version on the left, along with the McFarlane Toys original Action Comics 1000 on the other side. And then, just for funsies, I thought it'd be kind of cool to bring in the original, the classic DC Direct Superman, the missing abs Superman, and my custom beefy body Superman figure. Now, as for the articulation levels, let's find out. Will you be able to get Superman into a good flight pose? Oh, goodness! Well, that's good. That's plenty of head mobility there. Big rounded bulge inside of his brain called a ball joint, doing a great job. What does old Soupy have in the torso? Well, same thing as Batman, only more movement. Oh, look at how far back he can go. Put the head in there. Oh, goodness me. We're off to a great start here. Doesn't go forward worth a beans or a fart, but does go around 360. The waist, of course, is going to have that 360 as well. Oh, look, rounded hinge in the armpits with the little extra piece of plastic there. No bicep swivel, single jointed elbow that does, you know, about 90 degrees. Oh, wait, I forgot to check and see if his arm... Okay, yes, it also goes back and forth like that. And then for down here, McFarlane groin, just like that. They've all got McFarlane groin. Do like this a little bit. That's not super great, but not super terrible. We've got a line here that doesn't exist, and I wish it did. I'm imagining there was a thigh cut here so I could get just a bit more movement, but there's not one. Double jointed crunchy knees. That's good. Oh, that's integral to the flight pose. And then we have a rounded hinge right here. And although it's a big rounded ball joint, because it's red, it doesn't stick out as much to me. Everything clicks into place like usual. Pivot as well as toe articulation. Now, here is the test, because it's a Superman figure, and you guys know that my thing is to see if I can get him into a flight pose. So let's put the head back. Yeah! All right. I like that. That's really great. Well, now that we've looked at all four of the figures, there is only one thing left to do. Put together the collect-to-build horsey. So we're going to start with the first half of the collect-to-build horsey's torso. We can see where the back leg goes, and we can see here where the front leg goes, but the first thing we need to do is we need to give this horsey his head. So you can see it goes right here in the little half circle, just like that. That's right. Here at DC Multiverse, we build our own toys. I'll expect a check in the mail, Todd. I'm just kidding. It's part of a time-honored tradition to get you to buy the rest of the wave. Now I'm going to try and put this together. How does it clickety-click together there? Let's see. One of the seams. How does it fit together? Oh yeah, you'll notice back here there's some snippy snaps right here. So maybe I just slide the back over first, and then before I lock the front, then we'll stick the head in. All right. Well, this is a lot more frustrating than I thought it was going to be. Okay, upon closer investigation, I think what I'm actually supposed to do is stick the front clips in first and then clip it to the back. Yes! Got it! Okay, now I just gotta click the arse end into place. Alright, how do I do that? Push! Yes! Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I feel like I should be getting a check in the mail for this. That was challenging. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is attach the legs to this bad boy. Actually, no. I bet ya the saddle comes next, because this doesn't look like it comes apart. So we should slide the saddle over first. Well, that's good. Now he looks like he's ready to go chase a train and rob it. I mean, well, aside from the fact he's missing legs, it's a hover horse. Woo-yoo-yoo-yoo-yoo. Then we got the back legs. We got male to female. Just pop it on there. Then we got the legs here. This one's LQ and this one's RQ. So I'm assuming that RQ is going to go over here on the right. I'm just going to shove it in there. Just push it. Just give it a push. Shove it like you mean it. There's no way that's in there all the way properly. Oh my god. Oh my god. Is it supposed to be that hard? Don't even try to tell me that's in there properly, because it's not. Is the left leg just as stiff? Let's try to get the left leg in there. The left leg went in easier, I think, but that right leg, my gosh, I don't understand, because there's no way that's in there properly. Oh, you know the problem? I was putting it in backwards. All right, let's try that. Oh, yeah, see? Yeah, it goes in, no problem. Way to go, Brad, you dummy. Okay, next, we have the other back leg. That's gonna clip on there like that. And then no collect-to-build horsey is complete until you give it its tail. We're gonna just cram that in its butt. Ta-da! Collect-to-build horsey tail. Helicopter, helicopter. And here it is, finally the collect-to-build horsey with Batman sitting on it. I don't want to tell you how challenging that was to get Batman on there. You get him on, and then you get the foot in the stirrup, and then he'd slide a little bit, and you put the other foot in the stirrup, and then the other one that you just put in would fall out, and then you'd put the other one back in there. Then you're like, I gotta get the reins in his hands. And the reins are actually a lot thicker than the space between Batman's thumb and the rest of his fingers, so you're like really trying to cram it in there. In the end, you have to jam a paintbrush in his hand so you can spread his hand out so you can then stretch and put the reins in there. And then Batman's foot falls out of the stirrup, and then the saddle kind of falls a little bit, and then go put Batman back in there, put the foot in the stirrup, and then the legs begin to bend, and you're like, darn it, now I gotta straighten the legs up, and then Batman's foot falls out of the stirrup, and you're like, I want to set myself and this horse on fire! But nonetheless, Batman does look good on the horsey. I think that my favorite detail of the horse is the face. That horse just looks so patient and gentle. I love those eyes. If you take Batman off the saddle, a detail that you may miss is that, remember how Batman puts his bat symbol on everything? Well, there's one on the saddle there. Oh, I took him off. Here we go. Foot in the stirrup. Just get it in the stirrup like that. Get the other one in, and we're good. And yeah, you'll note the thing I was talking about here. See, here's how thick the strap is, and then you can see his hand. Let me just see if I can. I've stretched that out, and it fits in there, but originally it's just a tiny, tiny, tiny little space. But even with Batman, both of his feet in the stirrups, then you gotta push the saddle. You gotta push the saddle back like that. One thing that I do feel is a little bit precarious about this Batman on a horse thing is that it has a really, that narrow stance is something that, I could imagine this falling over very easily. Let's just check. I'm going to lightly push it now and see what happens. Wow, that was really easy. It would have been cool if there was some way that it was a ball joint and a ball joint so that the legs could move out and click into place. Like a rounded hinge or something like that. Anyway, Batman does look like a boss on the horse, and now you too can recreate your favorite iconic scenes from Dark Knight Returns, with not only Batman on the horsey, but also Do You Even Lift Bro Beefcake Superman, Grandma Joker, and Carrie Kelly Robin. What did I think of them? Well, although it is kind of tricky to translate Frank Miller's artwork into action figure form, being that the artwork doesn't look exactly the same the whole way through. Sometimes it has a much more clean, polished look, and other times the characters look just a little bit more scratchy, maybe a little bit more rushed or stylistic. The artwork is not exactly the same the whole way through. So I feel this is a pretty darn good, even average approximation of Frank Miller's Dark Knight universe of characters. You will have by now noticed that Superman's belt loops are red, and that's because, well, if you remember, I mentioned that it ain't nothing that some Q-tips and some acetone won't take care of. Just be careful, because acetone is very unforgiving. What it taketh, it do not giveth backeth. This has been one of my overall favorite waves to date, because Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns has a pretty big place in my heart, so maybe I'm just a little bit biased, but I really did like this wave. You can probably find this wave right now if you go out on the toy hunt, because it's hitting stores. Anyway, super friends, that is all the time that I have today. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video today. I hope that it was a useful, interesting waste of time for the day for you. Maybe you learned a little bit, maybe you had a little bit of escapism, maybe you laughed a little bit, or maybe you wanted to flick boogers at me through the computer screen. Either way, my time here is done. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.